Hi, this is Julie Haymaker, and this is a video for our Shrinkets group page on Facebook. And I'm going to demo doing some inks, um, permanent inks on the shrink plastic. I'm using the Opulent, which is on my website at juliehaymaker.com. And this is white with silver. I've got the ivory with gold. And this one is the white silver. I've cut these out from the basic template that comes in the 3-piece mold. There is available on the site. And then the big one is from the large domed mold template that comes in that large domed mold kit. So I'm using permanent inks. I like Ranger. I like high-end ink pads for these, and number one you want to use is waterproof, and then we're going to be using a iridescent silver, and I'm going to keep this in. Here's one that this is the direction we're going to be going in, so that I've already started. So let's get started. I use little sponges to apply the ink. Always test to see how, if my ink pad is new, the ink will be really juicy. And I like it to be a little on the drier side, because then it doesn't go on as intense and I can build up color. Doing a light touch here. Do some pouncing in if I want, but I'm going to be blending colors, so let's get that purple on there evenly, and make sure this one doesn't have any color in it. I'm going to come in with an aquamarine test. Keep your colors light. And that fun green. And I'm going to bring in this dark denim color. And this may be an old color. I don't even know if Ranger makes this one anymore. The darker color tends to add a little bit of sophistication to the piece. Now we're going to come in with some stencil work, and I'm going to pick this bright wild plum. Excuse me. I tend to pounce when I use stencils so that I don't ruin the sponge by scraping it on a rough edges of the stencil. Pretty. Okay, now let's come in with this silver brilliance. Sukanuko. Maybe mispronouncing that. Sorry if I am. Stamp. Test. Get a lot of the juiciness off that. So you can see we don't want it wet. Might flip this over so that I know that I'm getting it right on the center. And yet it still was, it had some juice on it. And so the trick with that is to blot. You still may end up having bleed, but you want to get the majority of your excess off of that. So I had this one to that point too, and so this one I'm going to use another stamp, an overall pattern that doesn't require centering. It's my favorite leaf bead pattern. A lot of the juice off of that. Hard to see, but I know it'll show up when it's shrunk down. Okay, now clean this up. I've got these two here, and I'm going to edge them in colored pencil. So I've selected this one. It's called Ultramarine. Is that the right color I'd like? I'm not sure. Let me look. I might want to go a little more violet, or I believe this is Imperial Violet. I think that's a better choice. So I burnish down so that I get a nice dull tip. And come around with an edge on this. There. This one I'm not going to edge because I'll be able to show you how both of those look. So shrink these down using the fluted spacer bead mold. Whoops, what am I doing? Put my pin, bottom of it, place my bead on the mold, doesn't matter which direction I go, take my heat gun, heat about an inch away from the surface evenly. One 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. We have on this one, because it's done on the opulent, very, very pale back here and much more intense on the front. Let's do this one. I'm going to hold this way up here. I don't know if you can see the silver. It's very subtle on there, the silver ink. Outlined and not outlined. Now I'm going to color this large drape mold, not drape, large Shrinkets mold. It's not a Shrinkets mold. Shrinkets cutout bead. That's my sponge kind of breaking down on the surface of the opulent, which has kind of a grit on it. That's why I buy these sponges in packs of 100. Okay. Let's come in with this really bright purple. Let's come in with aquamarine. And then some stencil work with, come over here and get this deep purple. I love stencils on the shrink plastic. It's great for those that want less of a, less of a whimsical look and much more of a sophisticated look. The colored pencils tend to be a tool that you can really get whimsical with. Okay, now we're going to come in with a stamp, and this time I'm going to use this color called Watering Can. Still got some, to clean my stamp, make sure. There. Test. There, that's a nice cool gray. All right, now I'm going to come over this with the, move some of these stamps out of the way. Put this over so you can see. Come and do an outline here with colored pencil. It's burnished out, so it's a nice wide line. Pretty. Okay, I'm getting ready to shrink that down. These are the ones that I did earlier. This was on the opulent shrink plastic. That's the white with the silver, available on the website at juliehaymaker.com. Okay. And just remember, when you're using the stamps, this is some scrap paper. When using the stamps and inks, to always use a permanent waterproof ink and use a higher end one, because you'll get a nice, beautiful, transparent color. Some of the cheaper ones will have a more intense pigment that doesn't have the rich translucency of it. It'll look a little more chalky. So we're going to use the large domed mold on this, and I'm going to place the colored side that I did down in the bowl so that when the bead is shrunk down, the color that I did will be on the surface. So placing this down in the mold, heating. About an inch away. It's totally done moving. Take my doming pin, put it in there, and count 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. Gorgeous. Ready to do my little one. I'm going to keep my little guy. More of the green colors. Going to come in with aquamarine, if I can find it. There it is. And now I'm going to stamp that one with the gray also. Watering can gray. I'm not going to use any stencils on that. I don't think, because it's awfully tiny. I don't want it to get too busy. I will come in with my Imperial, what color did I use? Imperial Violet. Make sure that's burnished down. And these beads were done with my Opulent Shrink Plastic white with silver and ivory with gold glitter. I'm going to use the little doming pin on that. I'm going to shrink it up. I'm going to put the color down in there. This is a baby bead. One 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004, 1005. Too cute. Okay, cute little stack that I can play with. And that's just a version of using stamps and inks on shrink plastic. Remember to use permanent waterproof inks and high-end ones. Hello, I'm Julie, and this is a little video on how to color lace with permanent inks. And this is something I'm going to use in a little project that I'll demo a little later on. So this was just some lace fabric. It's polyester, but it's got a matte finish to it, so it kind of mimics real old lace. I hate things with sheen on them. I like things to look old, and this one I get at Joann's Fabrics. It's just a netting. So just using combination of sponges. This happens to be, it's permanent ink. Don't use water base. So basically, this can also be done with alcohol inks because that's pretty much the same type of ingredients they use in these ink pads. I want kind of an irregular look. I can place it on here and run my finger along there too. Get some green out. I can pounce or I can run my finger. It's a little juicy on, if your ink pad is new, you'll get more intense. Then I can take this darker color and I'm just going to primarily hit the edge. See how I'm getting it just on the edge? See, I've got it on the edge. I'm making it to go with these pieces here. Get these covered. I just take normal thread and double thread it, and I tied a knot on the end of it, and I'm going to make a rosette. So I'm going to run a gather stitch along here and start at the tip. If you can't tie a knot, tie a lot. The first thing I remember my mother teaching me about sewing was doing a gather stitch. I think I have approximately 12 inches of fabric here, and it looks like I was about a half an inch wide on that, maybe 3/8. Pull it all the way through, come around to where I started, right here, and bring my rosette around, fold it in to a bundle here so I can see where I started. If you can't tie a knot, tie a lot. And there I'll have this pretty little rosette, and I can cut my thread, and it's ready to use however I feel I might want to use it in this project. So I just went and washed my little rosette with soap and water just to make sure, even though this was permanent ink, that if there was anything that would come off, it would come off, and that it would be pretty permanent. Hello, I'm Julie again, and I'm going to show you how to assemble the pendant. I already showed you how to make the little hand-dyed rosette and how to make the shrink plastic beads using stamps and the molds. So here we go. This is a piece of 20 gauge nickel silver. And we're going to make this little tiny coil at the bottom. So we're starting by taking our round nose pliers. You're going to need a plier set for this. And we are going to bend over. We can take our round nose pliers and we're going to bend over. I started the little coil there. I bend it over so that I get this nice round look. And then I'm coming in with my chain nose and I'm going to make this little bend here. And then I'm going to hold this and walk it around. I grab it on the coil and squeeze it, and every time I squeeze it, it forces it, pancakes it flat, just walking it and bending it along the coil. And the more I go, the rounder it'll get. You can make your coil as big as you want. I'm going to make it approximately that big. Then I'm going to take the chain nose pliers and bend it that direction. And then bring the coil right up to the bend. You have to do this outside on an anvil, and I can't show you on the video or the table will shake, but you're going to, if you want a hand hammered look, just hammer this flat on a concrete surface and it'll give you, or on an anvil, it'll give you a little flattened look like so. So I'm going to do that right. So cute. Okay, then next, these are the beads. I've got a little 4 to 5 millimeter faceted bead, a sequin, a little 10 millimeter silver star bead, our shrink plastic bead, the rosette, our fluted spacer bead, shrink plastic bead, a nice faceted 10 to about 11.5 faceted fancy bead, and a 10, and I think this is an 8 millimeter rhinestone channel set spacer bead, a shrink plastic bead, and a large, I'm going to switch these around, put this larger one down there, bead cap, and then the smaller bead cap, and then ending with the same way we started out. Let me make sure you can see that with the faceted bead as we started out. There we go. I think I got that all in the picture plane. So starting with the faceted bead, if you didn't see it all, you'll at least see it right here. Faceted bead, 4 millimeter faceted bead. You can put your sequin bead on either way, cup it up, cup it down. I've cupped it down. Then your large 12 to 13 millimeter bead cap. Your large bead, may have forgot that in the sequence because I think it rolled off. So a large, this is a 15 millimeter ceramic bead. And then we're putting our shrink plastic bead on there. You have two choices. I'm going to show you your options. Put this on there. Then we're coming in with our little handmade rosette, placing that on, and then our fluted spacer bead, channel set rhinestone spacer bead, our 10 millimeter it's kind of like a bicone cut, or shrink plastic bead, tiny one, and the little space, the little bead cap, and finishing with the way we started with the faceted bead. So that would be our layout. Now, I'll show you the other option. Got our large bead on there, 15 millimeter. You can put the ruffled piece under here. Then you can come right up like so. Let's do this. Rhinestone there. 10 millimeter. Cap this over. Come up here. Come up here with the bead cap, and the ending with the 4 millimeter like we started. This option here shows off more of your beads. It just depends on what you want. I prefer it with the ruffle on top of our big shrink plastic bead. So this is the sequence I am going to finish this off with. Four millimeter sequin, 12 to 13 millimeter bead cap, 15 millimeter bead, large shrink plastic bead, lace rosette, fluted spacer bead, rhinestone, 10 millimeter, 10 millimeter to, looks like 10 to 11 millimeter bicone bead, and faceted, and then our tiny shrink plastic bead, a tiny 10 millimeter bead cap, and a tiny 4 millimeter faceted bead. So now I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do a wire wrap. Now on my website under free tutorials, I sell a little wire wrapping cheat tool that makes it easy, and it shows you how it works. You can see that demoed on the free tutorial page, and the wire wrapping pliers that I use for that are sold on the website at juliehaymaker.com. But I'm just going to show you the traditional way. We put our wire wrap midpoint in, we put our wire midpoint in the teeth of our round nose pliers, and we are holding the pliers with our hands right here. Okay. So I'm going to hold it like this and hold it face down like that so you can see what I'm going to do next. I'm going to bend this behind here. See, I bent it behind here. And then I'm going to roll this hand towards me like a motorcycle, revving a motorcycle. And I'm going to roll it till my a quarter of a turn. You'll see what I mean by a quarter of a turn. Like that. See? And I kept my hand back here so that this didn't turn. It just stayed just in this line here. And you can see that it made this little wire wrap loop. Now I'm turning it around. So see, the tail's right up here at the top. And I'm putting the pliers back on. See? So now the tail comes down through the center of the plier noses. My doggies are going to be playing right now. So it comes right down here. And it's on the top this time, holding my hands the same way. Hand back here holding this into position. This isn't going to move, but this hand's going to move. Hold this. I'm going to roll it another quarter of a turn. And I got this nice little wire wrapped loop here. Now in my left hand, I'm going to take my chain nose pliers, and I'm going to hold this. I'm going to bend this so that I can bend it. Notice I bent it a little bit this way. Now I'm going to take the tail and just wrap it around. I did 3 little rows, and then I'm coming back over it. Whoops, it broke. That's okay, because it broke at a good spot. Then I'm going to clip my tail really close in here. And when I was doing that, my loop got kind of cockeyed, so just straighten it out. And I can take and use the pliers and kind of pinch it in there. And I created this little bundle wrap in here. If I need to straighten that out, I can. So I created this sweet little bundle wrap. Now if I want, I can also hammer that, which I will.